previous video, we looked at some additional selectors beyond just the basic ones, but there are still more to learn. Let's take a look. So as you can see, we have the same basic page here. We just have the same basic markup that we've been using. And in this style sheet, we're going to be doing our styling. The first selector that we're going to check out is called the child selector. So let's go ahead and type it out, and then I'll explain. So we'll just use the child selector here. And we'll give it a font size of 1.5 ems and a background color of orange. So when we switch back to the browser and refresh, you can see that these elements here now have an orange background. This child selector that I created has selected all the list elements on the page that are nested inside of unordered list elements. So let's say, for example, you only wanted to style list elements that were inside of unordered lists and not list elements that were inside of ordered lists. You could create a selector like the one you see here. Everything to the left of the angle bracket is the parent selection, and then everything to the right of the angle bracket is the child selection. The li tags are nested inside of the ul tag in the markup, and that's exactly what's being selected in this case. Next up is the adjacent selector. So let's go ahead and try that out. We'll use the same styles, but we just need to change the selector here. And when we switch back and refresh, you can see that our paragraphs now have the orange background and are larger in size. So let's switch back to the code here. The adjacent selector will match the selection to the right of the plus sign only if it is immediately preceded by the selection to the left of the plus sign. So we're selecting any paragraphs as long as they come right after an H2. So let's try switching these around and see what happens. So if we do P and then H2 and we switch back and refresh, you can see that now just this H2 and this H2 have been styled, and this H2 has not been styled because it is not preceded by a paragraph, whereas these two are. The next three selectors we're going to take a look at are called attribute selectors, and they're really all just a variation on the same theme. Basically, you're selecting elements based on their attributes. And to show you this, let's switch over to the markup here. I've added class attributes to all of the second level headline tags on this page. So here we have foo, here we have foo bar, and then finally we have bar. And a very important thing for you to note here is that foo bar here has a space in between, so there's actually two values here. So let's try the most basic form of an attribute selector first. So we'll just delete everything we have here, and we'll select the H2s, and we'll say class, and we'll change their color to white and their background color to purple. So when I switch back and refresh, you can see that these are all now purple with a white color. The attribute selector that we made here will select every H2 element on the page that has a class attribute. In this case, they all have class attributes, so it selects them all. We can get more specific than that though. So if we just change this and add an equal sign and some quotes and the word foo, we can switch back to the browser and refresh here, and you can see that just this first H2 is selected. By selecting class equals foo, we're selecting any H2 with a class attribute with the value foo, and it has to be exactly that value. If we switch over to the markup here, you can see that only the first one has the exact value of foo. The other ones have foo bar or bar. Now this other H2 here has the word foo in it as well, just like the first one, but it also has bar. We can use another attribute selector to select that one. So we'll switch back to the style sheet here, and we'll just add a tilde and save it out. Just by adding that tilde before the equal sign, we can totally change the meaning of this expression. Now this attribute selector will match any second level headline elements with class attributes that have the word foo anywhere in their value. So if we switch over to the browser and refresh, you can see that the first two here that have the word foo in their value have been selected. The word you're matching, which in this case is foo, could just be the word by itself, or it could be part of a space-separated list. If we switch over to the markup here, you can see that this value right here is just that, a space-separated list. That's just about all the selectors in the CSS2 specification, but if you're feeling adventurous, you should check out the CSS3 specification to learn even more.